One of the things you may notice first inside the Parallax Revit template is that the project browser has a large number of view types and views that are already created when you start a new project. We'll talk in a later video about the different levels that are in the template to start, as well as the different scope boxes and partial plans that are in the template to start as well. But first, this video will go through why there are different view types and what different view types there are, as well as how you can sort the project browser to make use of those. One thing to mention is that at the very top of the project browser, there is a series of views called Coordination Plans, parentheses, Find Things Here. What you'll discover through the series of videos on views and view templates is that all of these different view types that are in the project template are pre-configured with their own view settings with specific items turned on and off. That can be to your advantage after you're accustomed to the template, since a lot of your project setup visibility-wise is already done for you. But when you're still getting used to the template, it can be quite frustrating if you try to place something in a model and you can't find it in the view that you happen to be working in. So the views called Find Things Here will basically show everything from your model and all of the LinkedIn models, including all different types of view annotations, building section markers, wall section markers, millwork sections, and so on and so forth. Essentially, everything that's in the model will show up in the Find Things Here set of views. This can be handy if you need to track something down and then compare that view to your view to figure out why it's not showing. In addition, you'll find a series of plans called requirements plans for different disciplines engagements. There's a data requirement plan, an electrical requirement plan, a mechanical, a plumbing, a security plan, and there's also what's called a requirement plan for wall blocking. In a later video, you'll learn about the visibility graphics filters that are pre-built into this template and how the view templates all take use of those filters. What you'll discover is, built into the Parallax libraries, there are specific shared parameters that are yes/no that say, I require interaction with an electrical engineer. That means that these views are set up in advance so that if you were to go to the requirements plan for plumbing, you would see any plumbing fixtures or any devices that the plumbing engineer needs to work with shaded in a particular color, while everything else was gray. As you move beyond the requirements plans, you'll find a series of views that are called legend views. These will be talked about in a workflows video. Essentially, these are Revit floor plans that are used as legends, and anything that you edit in here will fall under what's called the legend annotation phase. This will be covered in greater detail in a later video. In addition, there are a series of views created for modeling existing conditions. In a workflow video going over phasing, this will be covered as for the purposes of these views, but essentially you can go to these views for modeling existing conditions. After you get below all of the views that are prefixed by 00, you'll start to notice that the views appear to be prefixed by what looks like sheet numbers. This is just a general guide to let you know basically where these views go in the set. For instance, overall floor plans are in the A2 series of drawings, and they always end in a 0. Where the lowercase x is, that's to let you know that that's basically the variable sheet number. So it would stand to reason that overall plan for level 2 would exist on A2 period some number followed by a 0, and that number happens to be a 2. If you were to look down at the sheet number, you'd see it exists on A2.20. There are different view types for all of the different types of drawings that we need to create in the template. So there are slab edge plans, overall roof plans, enlarged roof plans, partial roof plans, overall floor plans, partial floor plans, overall finish plans, partial finish plans. There are overall floor pattern plans and enlarged floor pattern plans as well, in addition to the typical partial floor pattern plans. If you're doing multifamily work, there will be unit FHA plans as well as enlarged plans meant to show off units on their own. There are exterior plan details, interior plan details, and millwork plan details as well. Moving down to the A20s, there are overall furniture plans, enlarged furniture plans, and partial furniture plans. Similarly, there are equipment plans in all three sizes, and there are also demolition plans in both the overall and the partial plan variety. There's an architectural site plan as well as an architectural pad plan, and then there is a series of views called a presentation plan. This is a good time to bring up that the Parallax Revit template starts with a full set of construction documents and a full set of presentation plans, both of which are completely separate from one another. So when you're in the overall presentation plan, it uses a different view template with a different graphical look than its corresponding overall plan, which is basically the construction document version of the same drawing. This means if you were to go to the Find Things Here plan that we discussed earlier, and you were to look at the elevation markers, you would see that in the template there are two different sets of views. There are A period views and there are A dash views. The dash views are all what we call the presentation views. This means if we look at the construction document overall floor plan, you'll see things like match lines, which show up in construction documents, and you'll see that all of the view markers are pointing to the construction document version. That's the A9 period. If we go down to what we call the presentation plan, where there is a different view template, you'll see that here, that's actually the other elevation marker from Find Things Here. You're seeing A9-01. The project browser has these views broken out into what's called Pres or presentation views. So here you're seeing the presentation floor plans. If you were to go into ceiling plans, you would also see that there are the requirements plans, then there are the different ceiling plans for construction documents, and then there are presentation ceiling plans as well. Similarly, if you were to go down to elevations, you would find, just like the plan views, that there are legend elevations, construction document elevations, and there are presentation elevations. The same thing holds true for view sections as well. To make this easier to manage, the project browser has a lot of variations in how you can actually see the project browser. It starts by default in what's called all by view types. That means the project browser is showing every view that's in our template broken out only by what its view type is. If you select the Views All by View Types line of the project browser, you can then move the sorting option and see a number of different sorting options available to you. You can switch to only seeing construction documents by view types, at which point your requirements views, your Find Things Here views, and your presentation views are all removed. If you're working on early design of a project and you don't need to see all of your condoc views yet, you can also move to your design by view types only, at which point the project browser gets a lot smaller because you're now only looking at the presentation views. There are other things you can do, such as if you're working on coordination after your model is built, you can switch the browser to coordination where you now only see the Find Things Here plan as well as all of those different requirements plans that were discussed previously. There are some other options you can use, like one of the out-of-the-box Autodesk styles called Views Not on Sheets. This means that for things like elevations and wall sections, only views that are not actually on sheets will show up in the project browser. Keep in mind this functionality has never been enabled for dependent views, which means all of the partial plans will show up in this view setting even though they are all placed on sheets. There are also a few different versions of how to sort each of these browser styles. So our default is by view types, where there is only one hierarchy, and that is what is the view type that has been made. You can also switch these settings to by view type and sheet number heading, and essentially what this is made to do is tell you basically which sheet the views are placed on. For instance, if we expand the architectural site plan view type, you'll see that there is a sheet on AS 1.10, and there you will find the site plan. Likewise, if you expand the overall plans, you'll see that there are 13 different sheet numbers for the different plans. This is handy mainly for quality control. It's not really meant to be worked in every day in this fashion. In addition to the sheet number heading, you can also do what's called view types and view templates, which is for quality control. Basically, what this does is it enables you to check as every view type that's created in the Parallax template also has a corresponding view template that goes with it. So the floor plan type A2.x0 plan overall also makes use of a view template that goes by a very similar name. That's how we're automatically controlling the graphics for all of the different types of views. So while we're in what we call the QC project browser mode, you'll see that currently all of the overall plans are using the overall plan view template. When you see these two things right next to each other like this and nothing out of the ordinary, that basically tells you that all of these views are configured correctly. If somebody had switched one of the view templates and it was no longer correct, when you went to this browser sorting method of view types and view templates, what you would see is an overall floor plan, and then there is an overall floor plan view template, and then there is an overall finish plan view template. Obviously, an overall floor plan would not be using the 4.0 finish plan template, so we know simply from looking in the project browser at this setting that this view has the wrong view template. We can now go in and switch it, at which point the browser will go back to normal. So all of the browser sortings that are marked as QC are a handy way to keep track of how things should be set up in your project. We're going to leave this on by view type for the duration of the videos, and we'll get into what specific settings are in those view templates in one of the workflow videos to follow.